everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I am Dr. Coughlin, and today I'd like to talk to you about whole food plant-based eating. So what does it actually mean? What does it mean to eat a whole food plant-based diet? So it is definitely eating no animal products. So therefore no meat, no fish, no eggs, no honey comes from bees, no dairy like milk, yogurt, cream, or cheese, all that kind of thing. But then it sounds like a vegan diet, right? But there's still differences between a whole food plant-based diet and a vegan diet. So I would say a whole food plant-based diet focuses more on health and then cutting out or refined sugars, refined starches, and more focusing on how we get the plants and things out of nature. So rather eating corn than eating corn chips, which would be vegan. The corn chips might very well be vegan if it has no animal products in it, but it has been processed quite a lot. So the same can be said, for example, with eating beans. So whole food plant-based diet, you eat a lot of beans. But if you eat vegan, you could eat like those ready-made patties for fries, or a lot of the shops like even Checkers sells ready-made vegan patties that contains a lot of beans, but it has been processed quite a lot. It's got a lot of added salt and oils and that kind of thing. So in a certain sense, if you want to look at it in negative light, a whole food plant-based lifestyle is more limiting. You're cutting out quite a few extra ingredients compared to a vegan diet. So this is a definition that comes from Healthline. That's just the link there that you can follow if you want to read up a little bit more about it. A whole food plant-based diet is a way of eating that celebrates plant foods and cuts out unhealthy items like added sugars and refined grains. So why deprive yourself? There's this conception of you are depriving yourself, or you're cutting out so many ingredients. What do you eat? Why are you doing this to yourself? So to explain that to you, I thought it's going to be the easiest to show you a few videos of things that convinced me to make this change. So the first one is of Forks Over Knives. So let's listen to that one first. So it's very soft.
Generation of children in the United States that lives less than its parents.
I got 2 pills I take for my diabetes, then I got 1 for cholesterol, high blood pressure, and then I take Byetta, which is an injectable.
I'm getting really shaky and I'm sick and I'm fatigued, and that's when they diagnosed me with hypertension and diabetes. Obesity, diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure cost this country more than $120 billion each year. People are saying, you're crazy. You're a cancer patient. You should be resting. Doctors told me this. When I had the second heart attack, the doctor said I should prepare for death.
Heart disease is an absolutely toothless paper tiger that need never, ever exist.
People who were raised in Japan, the Philippines, Korea, China, never had heart disease, prostate cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis.
This is the atlas of cancer mortality in China. Virtually the Western diet was non-existent. They had no animal products. They had no dairy, no meat. We learned that we could turn on and turn off cancer growth just by adjusting the level of intake of that protein.
I knew at that point what caused most diseases.
Our national authorities were simply excluding this concept in order to protect the status quo.
With the Western diet, there are going to be 500,000 people in this country this year who will have to have the front half of their body divided, their heart exposed. Some people would call that extreme.
I know of nothing else in medicine that can come close to what a plant-based diet can do.
If you go through life thinking that what happens to you from a health perspective is based on your genes, you're a helpless victim. I've reversed the diabetes. The diabetes is not coming back.
I just can't understand what it's done to change my life.
Diet is so much more important than anybody ever thought.
To me, the answer is so simple, it's criminal. It's just people starting to take responsibility for their health and starting to eat more plant-based foods. It's that simple.
There's a full-length documentary on Forks Over Knives and just talking to the doctors and people and the tests and so forth that was run. So you're very welcome to go and look for that if that interests you. Then I want to show this one, especially to the guys. Let's just make sure the sound is all right.
One and only Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I ate a lot of meat. They showed us commercials. Steak. That's what a man eats. Selling that idea that real men eat meat. Serious man food. But you got to understand that's marketing. That's not based on reality.
I've been teaching fighting techniques to government agencies for more than 15 years. Then I got injured, unable to teach for at least 6 months. I spent more than 1,000 hours studying science on recovery and nutrition. I stumbled across a study about the Roman gladiators.
The gladiators were predominantly vegetarian.
How could the original professional fighters be so powerful, eating only plants?
When I made the switch to a plant-based diet, I qualified for my 3rd Olympic team. I broke 2 American records. I was like, man, I should have done this a long while ago.
When I went plant-based, I wasn't sure if I was going to survive. And I actually became like a machine.
One of the biggest misconceptions in sports nutrition is that we have to have animal protein to perform at a high level. That's just not true.
Sometimes you have to do things that you know your competitors aren't doing.
Today's blood and yesterday's blood.
I think this is going to wake a lot of people up. I was recovering better, not getting as sore. This was our best season in the last 15 years, and we had 14 guys on plant-based diets.
It wouldn't feel great, have more energy.
Cholesterol, 276. Today, 169.
Whoa, now you're talking. Most guys my age can keep up with the grandchildren. My grandchildren can't keep up with me.
It's not one set of dietary guidelines for improving your performance as an athlete, another one for reversing heart disease, reversing diabetes. It's the same for all of them.
Someone asked me, how could you get as strong as an ox without eating any meat? And my answer was, have you ever seen an ox eating meat?
All right, so Game Changers, the movie or documentary, is also already available. So again, that's a full-length thing that you can go and watch if you want to. The last video I want to show you is a little bit more subdued, but I still think of great value. And that explains the blue zone. So I'll talk about that a little bit more of what isn't included in this little snippet.
With hundreds of diets competing for your attention, it's hard to decide what to eat. Even if you pick the right diet, no diet has ever worked for more than about 3% of the people who start it. So, diets are good for selling books and weight loss programs, but practically useless for delivering lasting health. The Blue Zone solution offers another way. We found places around the world where people are healthiest, the lowest rates of cancer, heart disease, and obesity. Then we distilled 155 dietary surveys to determine a global average of what these people ate. And along the way, made a few surprising discoveries. We found that about 95% of the food came from plants, that they actually ate a high carb diet with relatively low amounts of protein and fats. They snacked on nuts, about a handful a day, and the cornerstone of every one of their diets was a simple meal, about a cup a day. This way of eating came naturally for them. They didn't have to diet or deprive themselves of anything. They simply lived in places that made the right choices for them. The Blue Zone solution shows you not only what to eat, but how to set up your surroundings so that your healthy choice is not only the natural choice, it's unavoidable. www.bluezones.com.
All right, so that's the last video I wanted to show you as part of the presentation. So I'm hoping that this is starting to change your mindset about a whole food plant-based diet. So regarding the blue zones, there's a bunch of TED Talks and short talks on YouTube that you can watch, or you can go to their website as well. And they explain to you how to get your community involved and what changes you could make, and basically they looked at the populations or the communities that aged the best in the world. So populations with the most centennials, so people that aged to 100 years and older. And that they looked at a few things that they did. So it includes, for example, sleeping at least 7 hours a night, having 3 friends that you care about and that cares about you and that'll look out for you, not smoking, that kind of thing. So it wasn't just diet, but they also then compiled a list of the things that these people eat. And as they say, that it is predominantly eating plants. Some of them include a little bit of animal products, a little bit of meat especially, that they might eat, say, 5 times a month or so. So just eating much, much, much less meat than we have grown used to or that we grew up with. So here at the bottom as well, there's a nice quote that comes from the Huffington Post, which is quite a prestigious publication, which I thought to include just to let this sink in a little bit more. Nearly a decade of extra life. That's what you get when you move away from eating animal foods and towards a plant-based diet. It's really exciting science for anyone seeking healthy longevity. So for me, it's not necessarily about living longer, but it's about aging well. It's about being strong and fit and being able to go to hopefully say 90 years or so, being able to take care of myself. I'm sure you've seen in your communities, perhaps in your families, I most certainly have with my grandparents, all the illnesses they've gone through. For example, my one grandfather had some type of growth, a tumor growth behind his heart, and he also had prostate cancer. My one grandmother had breast cancer twice. My other grandfather has had skin cancer removed over multiple years in his life, and he is 80 years old and he is currently wheelchair bound. He cannot leave the place where he is living. So, they just don't have a great quality of life. And that is what I am trying to avoid for myself and for my family. Okay, so that's not my only why. That's my predominant why. That is why we made the changes. But what's also awesome and aligns with my lifestyle and the things that are important to me is that this kind of lifestyle is very, very good for the planet. So as you see here on the left-hand side, just the fresh water that is used to produce a kilogram of food. So this was specifically in Australia, but it would be the same elsewhere as well. So you have to use 15,000 liters of water to produce a kilogram of beef. So that means all the water that the animal drinks throughout its lifetime until it is slaughtered and then processed. That would also include the crops, watering the crops and things in order to feed the animal for the entire lifetime. Then again, it's sheep is second, pork, butter, cheese, chicken. So all of those in red, it's meat and dairy. They use the most water in order to produce food for us to consume. Then you get your plant foods like tofu, lentils, bread, chickpeas, rice, banana, pasta, potatoes, broccoli, and tomato. So you use a lot less water in order to produce the crops. Because if you think about it as well, now you're producing plant crops in order to feed the animals, whereas humans can just eat that. So you kind of cut the animals from the farming, the agricultural point of view, you cut them out of the equation so that you get your nutrients directly from the plants and not via the animal. Also, if you see on the right-hand side, animal agriculture produces 51% of all greenhouse gases worldwide. So that is what is negative for the ozone layer and breaks that down, etc., etc. And the shocking fact is that animal agriculture produces more greenhouse gases than all of the transport in the world combined. All trains, buses, planes, all of that combined produces less greenhouse gases than animals. So that's crazy. And that is predominantly from farts and burps. All right. Then animal agriculture is also responsible for up to 91% of the Amazon deforestation, which is obviously also very, very negative on a global perspective, as if we take away all those trees and things, they cannot produce oxygen and take up all the CO2 that is negative on all the greenhouse gases. So they actually cut away all of the forest, or not all of it, but a big chunk of it, and they keep cows there in order to slaughter them eventually to feed people. Okay, and then lastly here in the bottom corner, It's also one of the leading causes of water pollution. So again, yeah, you can think for yourself just what is polluting the water in animal agriculture. Okay, another reason for me is that it saves money, which is an added bonus really, but it is really cool. So there's again this misconception that going vegan is very expensive or eating vegan is very expensive. And if you look on the left-hand side, yes, it can be. It can be if you eat nuts. Nuts are really expensive. So if you eat a ton of nuts, if you eat processed foods, then it can be a really expensive way of eating. But if you look on the right-hand side, if you eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, you eat a little bit of nuts and seeds. Seeds are not so expensive. And you eat your grains, you eat rice, you eat pasta, you eat that kind of thing, then it is really cheap. I mean, if you think about it as well, when you go to the shop, what is your most expensive items that you buy most of the time when it comes to food? It's your meat and it's your dairy. It's your cheese that's really expensive, milk, and all the meats and things that you eat. Okay, so questions that we get asked quite often since we've gone vegan or went on this whole food plant-based lifestyle is, but where do you get your protein from? So now you've seen from the Game Changers little snippet from that documentary that you really don't need meat. If those extreme athletes can go without it, then surely I can go without it. They don't exercise nearly enough. So let's have a look then on the left-hand side. If you compare red lentils to beef, so they looked at 100 grams of both, there's equal amount of protein in both, but there's much less fat in the lentils, which makes it healthier for you to eat. It has more iron than eating the beef. It is obviously way cheaper to eat lentils than to eat beef, and you end up having a smaller chance of getting lifestyle diseases in the end. Where if you look at the beef, it contains cholesterol, which is obviously negative for you, clogs your arteries and cause heart disease. It contains hormones and things because they want the animals to grow quicker so that they can make more money, which is obviously also bad for you. So there's a lot of negative things to consuming beef as well, not even just looking at the protein that is equal in lentils and in beef. So here, if we have a look again at animal protein sources versus plant-based protein sources, you can see that a lot of things contain protein. So for example, again, tofu, which I'll speak about in a little bit later as well, peanut butter, chickpeas, avocado, and almonds. So these are quite high in protein, but all plants contain protein. So that's something important to consider. Just because you're eating veggies doesn't mean you're getting in no protein at all. You will definitely be getting protein from that as well. And if you're eating 3 healthy meals a day, whole food, plant-based meals, you'll definitely meet your protein needs. Another question we get asked a lot is, but where do you get your iron from? So here in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see that a man and a woman need at least 8 milligrams a day. And again, if you look at, say, for example, having oats and having then a little bit of chia seeds with that, which is easy to find in Dis-Chem. It's quite cheap as well to buy chia seeds. And it's quite similar to sago, so it absorbs water. So if you Google it, you get like chia seed puddings and that kind of thing as well. But I just throw it in my oats in the morning. And if I eat that, I add nothing else. And I add a lot of other stuff to my oats. But if I eat only that, I've already hit half of my iron needs for the day. So again, if you eat a healthy lunch, a healthy dinner, you'll definitely get your iron that you need throughout the whole day. Important things to remember for anybody when it comes to iron is that you should be combining it with foods that is rich in vitamin C, because that helps with the absorption of the iron. And you should avoid drinking tea or coffee 1 or 2 hours before or after your meal, because that causes the iron to not be absorbed as good as it can be if you eat that far away from drinking coffee or tea. Okay, the last nutrient that I want to look at that is something that we get asked often is calcium. Where do we get our calcium from? And we're all stuck on this idea that you need milk. You need milk for calcium because that is what marketing tells us. That's what we grew up with, that we're being told that we need to drink lots of milk to build strong bones. But there's actually been quite a bit of research coming out, and I know that's the contradictory thing, and you really have to read up a lot about it, and make sure of your sources, make sure that you listen to established organizations when you go onto the World Wide Web to go and get your information. But we are not baby cows, so we were not meant to drink cow's milk, in my opinion, and based on everything that makes sense to me, that all the information that I've come across. So you can get your calcium from plant sources, which is much more suitable for our bodies. So again, you get a lot from seeds, and you get from green vegetables as well. So again, just you're not getting calcium just from cow's milk. You can get it from a multitude of different sources. And again, as long as you eat healthy meals, you'll get it throughout the day. Everything that your body needs, you'll get in a day. Okay, so I do want to point out that I am not 100% whole food plant-based. I mean, that's the ideal. That would be amazing. I would be very proud of myself. But I still love some unhealthy things. On occasion, I will still, for Christmas, for example, my grandmother made gammon, so I had a little piece of gammon. Now, I'm not allergic to the things all of a sudden, and sometimes I say sweets and whatever, so we're definitely not completely whole food plant-based. Definitely sometimes we'll have restaurant meals, and those will be processed and so forth. So for some people, this is like a hard rule, right? Especially if you think of vegan people that do it predominantly for animal cruelty, that is their main motivation for eating a vegan diet. They'll be really offended if you say, okay, you still eat animal products, or you give them something that has milk or meat or something in it, a dish in a restaurant, in an establishment. So for them, it might be a hard and fast, complete, absolute rule of they eat 100% vegan. And that's great for them, but we're all different, right? So in my opinion, I would say I'm roughly at the 94% mark of eating whole food plant-based, maybe a little bit less actually. And if you just want to start incorporating more whole food plant-based foods into your weekly routine, and doing meat-free Monday, or cutting out meat for 2 or 3 meals and dairy for 2 or 3 meals in a week or so, every little bit can make a difference. And I mean, it doesn't have to be a once-off boom. Now all of a sudden you don't consume any animal products. We eat unique, and you got to deal with your family and convince other people as well. So if you want to try any of these things for the benefits, then take it at whatever pace suits you. Okay, so mainly I've now spoken about everything that we don't eat. So I want to show you what we do eat. So on the left-hand side, there's a bunch of plant-based milks. So there's some made from almonds, some made from different nuts, some made from oats, some made from coconut. So we use these different plant milks in our cooking. So I eat oats most days. That's just like my breakfast, what that I normally have. And I've got about 12 things probably that I put in my oats, but I put in, yeah, I've got oats and chia seeds, and I use a banana to sweeten it. And I eat apple in it because I don't like apple on its own. So I chuck it in the oats, I grate it into the oats, and then that's fine. I feel I get the nutritional benefit without actually tasting it. I put in cinnamon and turmeric, which are very good in antioxidants, and turmeric is also cancer preventing. And I put in peanut butter because it's high in protein, and also I buy the salted peanut butter, which again I can improve and buy the unsalted peanut butter, but that is basically the salty taste for me in my oats. And that is in general the things I put in. Then I might add some other things, but those, oh, and berries. I put in berries in my oats every day. So I try and have a breakfast that packs a high nutritional punch, and actually that keeps me full then until like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's just what works for me. If I want something a bit quicker and easier, then I have rusks, which we also make ourselves. You can buy vegan rusks, and coincidentally, Oma's condensed milk rusks are vegan. So there's no condensed milk in there. It's just obviously then sugar actually. So again, that's not so healthy, but it's an easy meal to have. So, you know, you do what suits your lifestyle, and if you're on holiday, you do something different. But that's just what we eat for breakfast. What do we eat for lunch or dinner? So we'll cook dinner, and then we'll eat the same thing as leftovers basically for the next day's lunch. And again, here on the left-hand side, you can see a sushi bowl. This is something I truly love, love, love. It's so easy. It's so nice and refreshing to have. So we basically take all the sushi ingredients minus the fish and chuck it into a bowl because that's nice and easy. So you've got carrots, cucumber, rice. We will use brown rice most of the time because that's the healthiest rice for you to have. Nori, which is the seaweed, sushi ginger, avo, sesame seeds, some soy sauce, and sometimes some sushi vinegar as well. So that is something that we make quite often. At the top here, just want to move this a little bit. There's a burrito bowl is what we call it. So there's some black beans, some corn, avo, again, brown rice, some cilantro, some tomatoes, and a ranch dressing, which we actually, I have some stuff here that I want to show you, which we make from hemp hearts. So this is not something that's easy to find at the moment in Bloemfontein. So I actually ordered it online. But I mean, you can really keep your food simple. I think when you want to try any vegan meals, try the simple, easy ones first. And often if you think about it on our traditional foods, what our ancestors ate many years ago, a lot of that are quite healthy and quite unprocessed. Okay, so this is what the hemp seeds look like, and we can blitz this up to get that nice white creamy sauce. And at the bottom here is a mushroom pasta. So we eat pastas quite a lot as well. So we might have like a basil pesto pasta, or so again, to get that creamy sauce, you can use plant milk, or you can use cashew nuts or sunflower seeds and soak them and make also a creamy sauce from those, which is completely free from animal products. And I couldn't just show you one slide, I had to show you two. So we also like in the winter having curries here on the left-hand side. So this is just a picture that I got off the internet, which quite resembles in color the type of curry we would have. But we often have chickpea curries, and chickpea is also a type of bean. And we'll put in some cauliflower, put in some potatoes, and then you'll put in, like I like making a coconut milk curry sauce. And then having that, again, we would prefer having that with brown rice. I know I've got a lot of rice dishes here, but we also eat bulgur wheat, we eat quinoa, we eat millet, we eat couscous, you get whole wheat couscous. So there's a lot of different grains we eat, so don't think I just eat rice all the time. And here on the top right hand side is like a fried rice that we would do. So, you know, you can just buy those packets of mixed baby veg and put in the rice in. And then I want to show you the tofu. So this we actually buy from the Asian supermarket. You can get it in sometimes in Pick n Pay or in Woolworths, but it's truly, truly very expensive if you buy it there. So if you buy it from a Chinese shop, like the one at Emily Hophouse or in Kellner Street, I don't know of any other ones. There might be some Chinese or Asian supermarkets rather. You can buy from them and they make it themselves, and then it costs you 4 Rand a block. So if you buy it in Woolworths, it's 90 Rand a block, and if you buy it in a Asian supermarket, it's 4 Rand. So this is made from soybean extract that they make curds, and then they make these, which I just want to show you here. So this is what I bought yesterday. I bought 6 blocks of those, and you can do a lot of stuff with it. So if you can really see, but it's basically like compact blocks, almost resembling feta cheese, I would say. Okay, then we also eat wraps and sandwiches and that kind of thing. So a lot of bread is already automatically vegan, doesn't normally get in eggs and that kind of thing. So this is what we predominantly eat then for lunch or dinners. Then I love sweets, I really do. So what do we eat for dessert? I wanted to show you here just different cakes and cookies and like the rusks and whatever. I can basically make any baked item. I can veganize any recipe by replacing eggs with a flax egg. So this is basically what a flax egg would look like. So you use this flax seed, which is very high in omega-3s, the same as with the hemp hearts. So this is also very cheap to buy in Dischem or in Checkers. They use flaxseed powder. You mix it with water and it becomes this eggy consistency. You can also use it to thicken sauces and that kind of thing. So when I do baking, I make flax eggs instead of using normal eggs. I put in plant milk instead of using normal milk. I might use margarine if it calls for butter, or if I need something to set. And then obviously margarine and butter aren't really the same thing. Then I would use coconut oil instead of the butter, which again, I don't think like any of this baking is really healthy. You can make it healthier than you would buy in the shop or in conventional items, but I still don't think it's healthy. It's still sweets, right? It still gets some sugar and that kind of thing. But yeah, I can make any kind of baking item vegan. Then you also get a lot of things that are what we call accidentally vegan. So it's that the factories didn't intend for these items to be vegan, but they just don't use any animal products in making them. So jelly beans, jelly tots, all of the Oreos, some Simba chips. So a lot of your conventional sweets and snacks that you get in the shop is just accidentally vegan. So we would eat some of that as well over a weekend or whenever we've got a kids party or something like that. Okay. So I've convinced you to at least try something new, to go and read up a little bit more about it for your own health, for your family's health, for your pocket financially, for the planet, and so that you can join me at the Hotel School's 2100 year, well, in the year 2100, in that reunion. Thank you so much, everybody. Please pop me questions if you have any, and have a good day. Bye.